Alright, so it looks like first we're going to be visiting Jacques' family. I wonder how they feel about all of this. Do they believe that Callus was the murderer? Or do they think it was somebody else?
It is settled, then. Please excuse me, and enjoy your conversation at your leisure.
Thank you for arranging everything for us, Malus.
Okay.
Excuse me, miss. Do you need anything from us?
Okay, she's... Okay, well... she seems very angry.
Hey, Navia's all quiet. This isn't like her at all.
Well, it is quite awkward. I mean, her father was accused of, like, you know, murdering this guy, so whether or not that's true is not known, and therefore tensions, it's kind of awkward, isn't it? Maybe we should do the talking. You think about that? Let's not bother her for now, that's what we're gonna say.
I'm sorry that I only came to visit after all this time. After what happened, I didn't know how I was supposed to face the two of you.
Ah, if it's about that, there's no need to apologize. After my husband died, Spina di Rosula sent us a lot of mora and support. I understood your guilt and apology to be genuine.
But aren't all of those things nothing compared to the loss of Jacques? I can understand the kind of pain that comes with losing a father so needlessly.
You don't understand at all.
I didn't know how to face you, because I didn't know what I could possibly bring as a consolation gift. I know only the full truth could bring closure to you, and to all of us.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for right now.
I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment, but you don't have to carry all that guilt. On the matter regarding my husband, my daughter and I have more or less found our answer already.
Okay.
Would you mind sharing it with me? I really can't believe that my father could ever bring himself to shoot Jacques.
I always knew that my husband's money was earned through others' suffering. He told me countless times that if he could turn back the clock, he would never go into the synth business again. He had many regrets, and felt that he took the idea of providing for his family too literally. For the longest time, he thought mora was everything. So when Mr. Callus came to him with a proposal, he accepted it almost immediately. He tried to be as careful as he could, but even so, he was still found out by the higher-ups.
Yeah.
They found out about his betrayal?
Papa didn't say that exactly, but Papa did tell me that I should never be ungrateful.
Before he left that day, he told me that he had no choice. It was only later that I realized it was his final farewell to the two of us.
Wait, does that mean someone ordered Jacques to take out Callus?
I don't know that for sure, but you could say that's the conclusion I eventually came to.
Interesting.
Which is why I'm the one who should feel guilty. Callus had always taken great care of us, both when he was still alive and after he passed away. Even if he fired the shot that killed my husband, it was likely in self-defense. It is impossible for me to hate him for what he had done.
But Mama, why is Papa still the bad guy if he did the right thing? Papa always wanted to be a good man, so why did he have to do a bad thing in the end?
Well, things aren't always as they seem. You still feel like your papa was a good man, right?
Yeah, Papa was a really good man. The best in the whole world.
Then you should hold on to that. If a good man had to do a bad thing, then he must have had his reasons. Regardless of whether he left you a parasol or a sword. He must have done so to give you a better life.
Parasol or a sword.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've told me. I will definitely find the truth. The current state of things is not something I'm willing to just sit back and accept.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to hear this from you. Even though your personality is quite different from your father's, your determination when you speak is really similar.
You really think so? That's the first time anyone said that to me.
Testimony from Jacques' family. Jacques' family believed that he had struggled greatly with the order to kill Callus. Did Callus act in self-defense, or was there more to the incident? I think there might be more to the incident.
So long as the audience thinks that seeing is believing, there's no limit to the number of tricks I can pull off.
Well, sounds like
Are you okay,
Lenny has
Nadia?
plans.
I'm fine. Don't worry. Let's investigate the 3 suspects
All right.
next. Florent should be nearby, and we should be able to find Thierry and Uncle Marcel in the
Okay,
city. I'll get myself together on the way.
no worries. We can do the talking for now.
Greetings, boss. How may I be of assistance today?
I'm sure you've heard about what happened at the Opera House. Someone got turned into water right in front
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah, I've heard. With something that dramatic, I'm sure journalists will milk it for all
That's
it's
not
worth.
important. What's important
And
is
it'll be
that
all the
it's
talk for the
real.
next several weeks.
It also reminded me, on the day that the incident happened with my father, it was raining outside, and we found some clothes left at the scene. After my partner here put the dots together for me, I feel like we should try to reopen his case.
Hmm.
Can you do me a favor and try to recall what happened that night?
Let me think. Mr. Callus was feeling pretty upbeat that day. So he was drinking and bantering away with us at the table. After that, he told us that he wanted to go get some fresh air. So we let him go without thinking much of it. Who knew that we would hear 2 gunshots ring out right after? My first reaction was that Mr. Callus's life was in danger. So I grabbed my holster and made a mad dash toward the scene. But when I got there, it was already too late. Mr. Callus was standing over a dead body with a gun in his hands. All we could do was look back and forth at each other, not knowing what to say.
So you also remember 2 gunshots then?
Indeed. The guard said that the first shot didn't hit anyone, while the second killed Jacques. But I've never
So
really
the first
bought
one
that
could have been
explanation.
not
Reason
from
being,
Callus.
Mr. Callus had left his gun on the table. I even made sure to confirm that before running to the scene. But
Interesting.
according to the guards, that doesn't mean he couldn't have had other guns on
If
his
he didn't bring
person.
his gun out, why would he be holding a gun?
About the clothes left at the scene that you mentioned. Do you think there was a third person there who was
It's
turned
very
into
possible.
At least from our perspective, my father had no reason to kill. So he would also have no reason to bring an extra gun with him. The gun he was holding probably belonged to Jacques, or a third person.
And why was he
on the scene.
holding it?
water? Yeah,
Why was it
makes a
in
lot
his
of
hand?
sense. So you're saying Mr. Callus ended up with the gun because he seized it from one of the other guys? But hold on. If that's what had happened, then why didn't he share the truth with
Well,
any
the
of us?
same
He didn't even want to face the
same
Oratrice
reason he
machine,
chose the duel.
and chose instead to prove his honor in a duel. Did he lose all faith in the courts after seeing someone dissolve right in front of his eyes?
I'm really analyzing what he's saying too. I'm trying to
About
find
that, Malus told me a thing or two.
words.
So, I think I can understand why he
Any
committed to the
incriminating
duel.
words here?
I'll tell you everything once the whole truth has been revealed.
Yeah. Once we know where
understand.
everyone's loyalties lie.
Then I'll leave Mr. Callus's honor in your hands, boss. And if I may just say one more thing. The whole Callus the Unfaithful epithet has been a thorn in my side since the day it was invented. Many people have laughed at me for still calling him Mr. Callus, even after so many years have passed. But it was Mr. Callus's trust that allowed me to rise through the ranks of Spina di Rosula and live the life I lead today. No matter what others might say, he'll always be the man I respect the most. And he'll always be my boss.
Okay.
Don't worry.
That sounded genuine
I will
enough.
definitely
so
find the truth.
I trust him for
You
now.
and all our other comrades at
For
the
now.
scene deserve to know the truth as well.
And I say, it seems Fontaine and Sejnaya are the only places that have guns so far. That hasn't... But But then again, Inazuma has fireworks, so they could technically also have guns. This is like, this could be the era where all the nations start to have guns soon. Florent, the advisor to Spina di Rosula, claimed that he was very grateful to Callus for his kindness. He was also present at the banquet on the day of the case and can provide extra evidence that Callus did not carry a gun with him when he went out.
This is no time for distractions. Seriously, you have a great magician standing
Yeah.
right here. You don't want to miss the best
The
part.
best
do you?
part. Cat. And then cat explodes.
Right up.
And then more cats. Alright, let's see. The truth lost with the rain. As light rain falls without reason. That's gotta mean something. Hello.
Hey, Thierry, it's me.
Oh, now, what brings you here, Miss Navia? I've heard that you made quite the name for yourself at the opera
Yeah, we
house.
couldn't have solved the
Oh.
case without her.
So you've got news of that already.
I'm sure it's the talk of the
Oh,
town.
okay. Hey, I'm also a member of the guards, you know. The way you make it sound, people would think I was sent off to Poisson because I had done something wrong.
Are you sure there isn't a little bit of truth in that? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't you have been called back to the city already?
I mean, where I work is really up to me.
I'm
Let's
sorry, I
just
just saw a
say
glimpse
I
of somebody
enjoy
back
the
there.
ambiance of
But
Poisson.
I might have just been seeing
Callus did a
something because my
fantastic job
my
running the
eyes
town.
are tired
Building
and
Spina di Rosula from the ground
drooping.
up and clearing
But I
many
swear I just saw a
obstructions
child
my
in the
way.
background.
It would be next to impossible for me to find a similarly easy but high-paying job in the city. Anyway, enough chit-chat. Are these two friends of
Yes.
yours? You, here for some formal
Something
business?
like that.
Ah, yes. These two are my partners. What happened at the Opera House made us realize that Linny's case and my father's may be related.
Yeah.
We're trying to reinvestigate.
And
the
if we
details of
solve
my
this, we'll
father's
also
old
get info
case.
on the missing
Ah,
girls
I get it.
and women.
You think there might be more to the case now that we know people can be dissolved into water, right?
I know, and
was
it's
also
pretty-
flabbergasted when I first heard of it.
That's a
If you
pretty
want to go through the original
preposterous and
files from your
ridiculous thing to
father's
have
case,
happen. I don't know how
I
you
can
come
help you
back.
look for them.
How do you
That'd
avoid
be
any
much
of that kind
appreciated.
of problem?
Thank you. Actually, I have another question. Do you have the authority to dispatch Gardamex?
Of course. Without them, I couldn't possibly handle Poisson on my
Although
own.
here's the thing, we're not
Why
in
do you
Poisson,
ask?
so why are we talking like
We
he is in
definitely can't
Poisson
use them
when
to
he's all the way over
forcefully
in the
get
city
more
right now?
evidence for your father's case.
Well, you see, just recently, we were attacked by a horde of unnumbered Gardamex in the city.
Yeah.
So, if you hypothetically wanted to do something against me, all you would need to do is get rid of the mecha serial numbers and send them
Yeah.
after me.
Then you think too highly of my abilities. Dispatching mecha is very different from controlling
Okay.
them. If I had to make an analogy, when you order a dish, the chef will make it for you. You can ask the chef to cook, but not to massage your shoulders or carry your baggage. If you try to make unreasonable demands, the chef would just think you're out of your mind and ignore you completely. The same goes for me and my Gardamex. Removing a serial number is also not as easy as you might think. There are a lot of complex steps to it, and it's almost impossible to keep it a secret. So I can promise you, those mecha were definitely private units.
Okay.
They're certainly not cheap. So, whoever their owner is must be super rich, powerful, or both. Now that you mention it, though, being in the synth business would definitely be profitable enough to
All right,
afford
that
this.
makes sense.
Oh, then you're officially in the clear, Thierry.
Oh, well, thank you for the vote of confidence, Navia. Jokes aside, I'd like to wish you all the best with your
Thank you.
investigation. I'll be staying in the city for a little while, so just come find me if you need any support from the guards.
No problem. Thierry is the person responsible for official contact between the Spina di Rosula and the guards. According to him, only the sufficiently rich can privately own large numbers of Gardamex. I don't know who I saw. It might have been that guy, but I feel like... I think I'm just going insane. Alright, next. Next. You know, we tried to pull for Linny in the hotel to be lucky, but we didn't really get that lucky, did we? Went all the way almost to... But we didn't go to hard pity, but soft pity.
Hello. How may I help you? I'm here to see Marcel. Could you please let him know? You can just say Navia's looking for him. Sure. I will let him know right away.
Sounds good. After waiting a while, Marcel arrives in a hurry.
Navia, hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not as young as I used to be, so my legs are giving out a bit.
Oh, it's all right, Uncle Marcel. There's no need to stress. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about what happened in the Opera House. I'm sure you saw everything
Poodle!
too, right?
There were so many
Yes,
fancy poodles here.
I've never seen anything so
I know,
strange.
it's actually really scary.
Oh, you were at the Opera House too?
That's right. I went there with Navia to see the magic show. Who knew it would turn into a whole murder mystery? I also witnessed your marvelous sleuthing work.
Thank
Quite
you.
impressive. To beat the Hydro Archon at her own game on her own turf, I can already imagine everyone in Fontaine discussing.
I mean,
your
it shouldn't just be about
exploits
beating
over
her
a
in her
few
home
glasses
turf.
of
This is a
wine.
court case. Somebody's life is in the balance. You don't become the talk of drunkards now
just how
after all the
Fontaine is
trouble
as a
we've caused
nation.
in 4 other
Everyone loves
nations.
drama and theatrics.
Uncle Marcel,
Especially
you
Mondstadt. I'm
also
sure
noticed
everyone
another
there is
thing,
drunk
right?
and they're all talking
The
about
fact
us.
that humans can dissolve in water?
Yes, I was reminded of your father's case right away. Is that what you're investigating
right.
now?
Exactly. I still don't have much solid proof, but I can sense that the other side has already begun to act.
Oh, and what makes you say that?
We were attacked on Araneus by some unnumbered Gardamex. And there was also an attempt to get me to drink water from the primordial sea. If not for the vigilance of my partner, I probably wouldn't even be here
Thanks,
talking to you right
Paimon.
now.
Oh, you're giving us too much credit. Wasn't it you?
Paimon, you saved her life
Alas,
by drinking
it
the
seems
poison
things
for
are
her.
heating up again. The peace that Callus sought so dearly will soon become a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But rest assured,
But
Navia, Poisson will
nothing
always
ever
remain
remains
a safe
peaceful
haven
wherever
for you.
Aether goes.
If you're scared, you can always return there. If anyone dares to lay their hands on you there, the Confrérie of Cabrières will use its funds to the last Mora to bring them to justice.
Thank you, Uncle Marcel. But I don't intend to go into hiding. I'm going to strike while the iron's hot. Do you have any new thoughts on my father's case?
About that. Sorry, my age is catching up with me, so it'll take me a while to
No
recall my
problem.
memory. The Confrérie was responsible for that banquet, so I was out and about the whole time making sure things were running smoothly. I didn't even have the time to drink with
Okay.
the guests. Then I heard the sound of
A gunshot?
and the rest was history.
A gunshot. What about 2 gunshots?
Oh, it's
Ha!
okay.
I noticed
You
that.
need to push
1
yourself.
gunshot? I
We'll
don't
ask around
think
some more.
so.
See if there are any valuable clues elsewhere.
Sounds good. Just let me know if you ever need Mora. All my wealth comes from Callus's patronage.
All
and
his
support.
wealth.
I'll spend however much it takes to clear his name.
So he's wealthy, and he heard only 1 gunshot. But he probably still is not the murderer, because he has an alibi, he was away. And furthermore, we suspect that the real murderer was dissolved into water. But he could still be more knowledgeable than he's letting on. Marcel is the leader of the Confrérie of Cabrières. I cannot roll my R's, I'm sorry. And was the organizer of the banquet years prior. The Confrérie and the Spina di Rosula have always maintained a close working relationship. Though his recollection of the events of the case is quite foggy, he's willing to defend Navia. Thank you. Let's see. Well, we'll just climb up, as we usually do.
We've talked to all 3 suspects, purely based on their conversations with me.
None of them sounded particularly suspicious.
Yeah, none of them sounded particularly suspicious. I'd say like all of them are like, it's a little bit hazy, but you know what? It could just be the fact that, you know, like say like Marcel might be forgetful because he's old, or just said a gunshot and meant 2 gunshots. Was just, and yeah, I mean, as was brought up in the last case, you know, sometimes people are the least reliable witnesses, and sometimes they're the most. That makes it difficult. But none of them really stood out as a suspect.
I suppose that's to be expected, though. If a single conversation's all that's needed to find them out, then my father wouldn't have needed to investigate the case for so many years. Anyway, even though we didn't make a breakthrough, let's still compile what we were able to find.
Okay.
But where should we start?
Jacques' motive.
Ah, you're right! Flora mentioned that Callus probably only ended up with the gun because of circumstance. That makes sense.
According to Jacques' family members, he already told them that he had been discovered, and that he had no choice before he left home that day. If I had to guess, he probably received an order from the synth boss to kill my father. Had he refused, he and his family's lives would have been forfeit.
So, Jacques fired the first shot?
Yeah, Jacques shot first. But if I was Jacques, I wouldn't have fired a shot at all.
And why is that?
Because the most noisy way to murder. I mean, probably Jacques didn't know about the dissolving water, but I'm sure there were probably other ways to kill somebody without drawing the attention of everybody in the banquet, which is what happened. And yeah, could he guarantee his safety after killing Callus? Could he guarantee his family's safety after killing Callus?
Ooh, that's a good point. Jacques probably already knew that he was just being used as a tool for murder. And once he had completed his mission, he'd be of no more use to his boss.
So, what would make more sense from his perspective would be to turn his back on the order and seek protection from my father.
Yeah, that's true. You're talking unreliable people. You do what they ask for, and then they don't give you what you want anyway. So that does seem very likely. So it seems that the third person was the one who derailed everything.
Makes sense. But without evidence, that's still just a theory.
What other evidence
Besides
do we
Jacques,
have?
the attack from the Gardamex has been bothering me quite a bit.
Me too! Why did they come after us?
That our enemy has become more antsy after
I know,
the secret
but
of the primordial seawater was revealed.
Do you think he knew, even then, that we'd follow this lead to the end?
Given everything that's happened since, it's quite possible.
In fact, we should probably be
Who
watching
among
our
the
backs
3
now.
suspects would have the ability to control privately owned Gardamex?
Marcel. I'm telling you, it's Marcel of the 3. I mean, he doesn't seem that suspicious, but I will point out that he's wealthy and his account was not perfect like the other 2 were. And it could just be because he's old, but
Uncle Marcel? My father did really trust him.
his
Worked together
none
on
of
a
the
large
testimony
number of
seems
projects.
particularly suspicious, but
Maybe
of the
that's how
3,
he got
it's
to know
Marcel.
And with funds from the Confrérie, he could also afford a large number of Gardamex. Still
And he
really
could
hard
also
for me to
be
imagine, though.
selling
After all,
the
Uncle Marcel
synth.
has been around since I was just a child.
Right.
Also, wouldn't this mean he has been spending a whole lot of mora and energy to fight his own synth business?
It could all be a front, you know, like one of those, like either the synth business or the confrérie are basically just it's to throw you off. All right, maybe it was someone else then. I will point out the fact he only heard 1 gunshot though. All right, Thierry, he tried to deflect the fact that no, I can't send Gardamex after you, but it sounds like you could if you just put in a lot of effort.
Thierry, you say?
Let me guess. The answer's gonna be
It's
none of them,
possible
I'm
that he
sure.
figured out a way to convert the Gardamex for personal use. But I didn't feel like he was lying when he was talking to us about the mecha. I also don't think he'd be able to keep that kind of tampering under wraps.
I'm telling you, I don't think it's any of them.
I actually
It's probably a
tampered
4th
with the
person
mecha.
of
We'd be able
them.
to prove it with a simple check of the guards' inventory. If the mecha were taken from the guards, it should be pretty easy to find out when and how that happened.
Alright then, Florent.
Florent? It is true that he was closest to my father, and thus had the best chance of learning about his dealings with Jacques. But as Spina di Rosula's advisor, his work mostly deals with personnel and security, so he shouldn't have much means when it comes to finances.
So you're saying he's too broke to afford a mecha army?
Once again, we also don't know if these are all the same
He can't.
person.
Even
The
if he
same
could,
person is
I
sent the
don't think
Gardamex
he would
at
be able to
us,
dispatch a whole
and
group
that was
so
the one that was
quickly.
involved in the murder years ago.
Who could
I mean,
it
they're probably
be?
part of the same network. They're part of the same network, but I doubt it could actually be none of these guys, because it could be a different person who was there, you know. Oh, but we're just trying to find the informant, right? But that's the thing, is like trying to find the informant and then asking about the incident that happened years ago. Like, without sounding too suspicious and directly asking them, it's kind of hard to get relevant info. But sure, what did we do? What have we found, Ether? Okay, Poisson. This is irrelevant. Okay, irrelevant. Florent, the advisor to the Spina di Rosula, claimed that he's very grateful to Callus for his kindness. He was also present on the day of the banquet of the case, and can provide evidence that Callus did not carry a gun with him when he went out. Which I would actually say clears him. Clears Callus, I mean. But the serial disappearance of a young woman case record. Yeah, I guess these cases are linked. Thierry is the person responsible for official contact between the Spina di Rosula and the guards. According to him, only the sufficiently rich can privately own large numbers of Gardamex. I don't think it's him then. Marcel is the leader of the Confrérie of Cabrières and was the organizer of the banquet years prior. The Confrérie and the Spina di Rosula have always maintained a close working relationship. Though his recollection of the events of the case is quite foggy, he's willing to defend Navia. This doesn't seem like it should be any of them. But I will still stay with the fact that Marcel is the most suspicious of the three of them. But that's only because he can't remember things accurately. It could mean that he's lying, but it could also just mean he doesn't remember.
You know, if you think everything through, Uncle
Yeah.
Marcel is indeed the most suspicious of
Yes,
them all.
there was a couple red
Are we
flags.
missing other suspects? Malus didn't know about the people turning into water thing when he narrowed it down to these three, did he?
That's true as well.
Malus has always been very reliable, and his judgment of others' trustworthiness has been fair and well considered. When he laid out his case for the three, the rationale he gave me made a lot of sense as well. The suspect is knowledgeable about the Spina's internal affairs, has the means to dispatch Mecha to assassinate us, and possesses significant intellect and foresight.
Yeah.
Even if I don't want to believe it, I'm starting to see how things could all tie back to Uncle Marcel.
I mean, you'd feel bad about if it was any of the three of them, because they're all very close. And yeah, the fact that he only remembers one gunshot, to me, says that he might have been up to something. You know, that would not, although at the same time, though, maybe that means that he wasn't there at all, which would also mean that, like, I don't know.
Well, we still have another trump card on top of all the theorizing and speculating.
The synth production base. Although we weren't supposed to go there, but I guess we could.
Yes, Malus did say that charging straight in there would be extremely risky. But we don't have any other options
But
right
thankfully, you're traveling with experts
now. We need
at
far
charging
more
into
solid
bases.
proof before we can hope to go charging in on our enemy.
Yeah.
Navia, here you are.
Okay.
I've been looking for you.
All right.
Huh? Aren't you the guy from the guards? Did something happen?
Did you find something?
Yeah. News came from Irenaeus just after you left. We've got another trial on our hands.
Oh no.
Wasn't that place built specifically for holding trials? What's so newsworthy about this one?
I know. But they said the person they're putting on trial is a Fatui harbinger called Tartaglia.
Shoot. Oh no. Uh-oh. They must have been like, wow, we almost convicted someone from the Fatui last time. let's do it again this time. Except there's a lot of questionable things Child does that I think would get him arrested here. It's just... oh no. Oh no. Oh no, our dear buddy Child is in trouble, isn't he?
What? Is that someone you know?
Oh...
Yeah, we know him. Maybe even a little too well.
yeah.
Well, he's been accused of being the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case. It's absurd, don't
That
you
does
think?
seem a little absurd.
Wait, how? None of our investigations have had anything to do with him.
It might not have anything to do with Child, but this could very well be related to the Fatui. How many times have we been like investigating some internal affair and it turns out the Fatui had already like deeply infiltrated, just like what happened in Inazuma and Sumeru. So, and you know, as a leader of the organization, that would technically hold him somewhat accountable if it was Fatui involved. I don't know what to think of this.
That's what I thought was strange about
I don't
him,
think
so
it's him
I came to tell you the
directly.
news right away.
We just saw him the other
The charge
day,
against him
and he's
stands,
not
and
in
it leads
Fontaine
to
most of the
impossible to
time.
get
He
the guards
just
to
got
support
here.
any of
He was
our
here for a
planned
couple months,
investigations.
right?
Right. Because they'll think they've already found the culprit.
Yeah. And it'll be a lot harder than to clear Mr. Callus's name.
I understand. Well, partner, what do you think we should do? We still haven't found any conclusive evidence.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's split up.
Huh? Split up? What do you mean?
You can go to Aranias while I go investigate that place. I'm confident in my combat abilities. I feel like we should go save Child, but you know what? As long as we send Navia over there, I'm sure she'll find out whatever intel we need and maybe help him out in the process, since it's not immediately obvious to me how he could be the culprit. What Farina might have come up with this time, other than wanting to see a Fatui Harbinger being on trial. Because you know what? I honestly feel like she'll definitely just make up cases just to see what happens. Meanwhile, all these people are going to get thrown in jail. Although, you know, I don't think you can keep Child in jail for very long. He has a lot of powers, although that's kind of what's risky, is that his powers have been fluctuating.
Just as expected of my partner.
This is like us charging into the delusion
Since this is a
factory.
trial about the serial
You're getting all worked up
disappearances
over
case,
nothing.
The culprit's attention will be focused on Aranias, leaving his home base wide open. You're right. This is our best
Okay.
opportunity. All right then, let's do this. I'll stall them at the Opera House and charge Marcel as the true culprit.
The problem here, though... Okay, I still think it's Marcel. However, if it turns out Thierry is actually the true informant, then we've just given him all the info of what we're about to do. So, like, I don't think it's Thierry, except for the fact that, well, we're deliberately, for some reason, confiding all of this in front of him. If we find out that their base is heavily stormed, is heavily defended when we storm in, then I'll know that Thierry was the true informant, because then he's going to tell them.
I won't have any chance of making that charge stick, though, unless we find more evidence. It'll be up to you to make it back in time and hand the decisive evidence to me.
We don't even know what evidence we're looking for. Like records? Like testimony? Alright, leave it to me.
we'll help you, just like you helped us in Lenny's trial.
Yeah.
Demoiselle, please allow us to accompany you.
Oh, thank goodness we have these guys.
Ah,
And I trust these two.
Silver.
Neither of them are
When
the
did you two get
informant.
We heard that you'll be leaving Poisson and figured that you might require our assistance. It's our hope that your confidence will be bolstered with the two of us by your side.
And we've already left
Thank you
Poisson,
so
but okay.
Then, let's make haste for Aranias. Paimon, Traveler, I'll see you at the Opera House.
See you then.
We're gonna get to the Opera House. It's gonna be like that meme. You know the meme where it's like the guy walks in with pizza and like everything's like on fire? And everything's going crazy? That's literally gonna be us. We're gonna be like, hey, we're holding all the records. And then we just go in and everything is just complete chaos and fighting, I'm sure. Combining the information regarding the Gardamex and the investigation results so far, it can be concluded that there is only one person who can have a large number of Gardamex in his possession and run the synth business without leaving traces. This person is none other than Marcel. Okay. But here's the thing, is like, I thought we were looking for the informant, not like the actual boss. But, okay.
We should also get going.
Is this
The
it?
location has already been marked on the map, so let's head over. Huh.
Oh, it's underwater. Sorry, Paimon.
Let's go and try to find the entrance.
Let's do it. Too shallow to dive here. Well, how about now? Oh, so you notice, I was just noticing, so like, so when you have like a regular character, like say like Tartaglia, the blue dot thing that you fire as things from is normal. And then with Lynette, because she has Osea energy, it's just Osea. And I guess Linny too has Pneuma energy. And I'm also noticing Ether also has Pneuma energy too. Which is interesting. Crabs! There are crabbles here! I do not want to hurt them. But I might have to. But not today. I need them to level up my characters. I'm sorry. Alright, no, let me get the Hydroculus first.
Finally!
Okay, good, I got it.
Huh. So this is the entrance that leads to the synth production base. It sure doesn't seem out of the ordinary at all.
Good thing sound travels the same way in Fontaine water than it does in air. So we can talk to each other. Well, they don't want to stand out. I'm sure we'll find it inside will be extraordinary. In fact, why can't Paimon? Is Paimon like? Can she telepathically talk with us? Because I noticed like when the characters drown or die in Fontaine, or they can't drown. When they get destroyed by these crab things, they don't have their voice lines. So I just assume you can't talk underwater, or you can, but it sounds different. But Paimon and I are special.
You're right. An important place like this is bound to have a ton of protective measures and
So does everyone have to scuba dive to get down here?
Probably arguing up a storm right now to stall for us.
And also, we don't know if the synth business is the same as... Okay, I guess we do, because the missing women had to do with...
It would appear that I must repeat my question again, Mr. Tartaglia. Do you accept the charge that you are the true culprit behind the serial disappearances?
Why didn't he have a lawyer?
To be perfectly honest, I don't understand your country's complicated court system, or the reason why I'm being charged with something I've never even heard of.
Okay, that's actually really bad, because usually, you're supposed to have, like, you have to have your rights read out to you when you get arrested, and then, like, you're supposed to be provided legal service, right? So if he doesn't know what's going on and he doesn't have a lawyer, then I think your system is kind of failed, because he should be required to have some sort of advisor.
However, I did hear that people who have been charged can choose to participate in a duel to clear their name.
Okay, well, that's something he's pretty good at.
In which case, as long as I accept the charge, I can have an all-out fight with that champion duelist Clorend, right?
Then he gets what he wants.
Admit, that's one of the most enticing offers I've ever received.
Well,
I
I suppose.
Sparred with her last time, she was obviously holding back. Real disappointing.
Hey, don't you understand? You're currently the prime suspect for a major case.
And you don't understand.
This isn't the place for you to be looking for fights.
Tartaglia always fights and doesn't talk very
Sounds
much.
like the Hydro Archon wants to lecture me on the ways of the Opera House. Then why don't you duel me too? I'm the kind of student that learns best in the heat of battle.
Yeah.
No. That's not what I meant.
I would love to see Farina actually fight
Alas, it
once.
would appear that communication with the defendant is going poorly. We have made very little.
That's because he doesn't have a lawyer,
In that
guys.
case,
Like, he needs an
let me
attorney.
explain everything from the very beginning again. The goal of this trial is to determine the culprit behind the serial disappearances case.
That case had nothing to do with him. You've got the wrong man.
Huh?
Oh,
What's
probably have the wrong guy.
Why is she interjecting again?
I told you it couldn't be one of the Fatui harbingers.
Miss Navia,
Just
this is the
yeah, it
second
doesn't
time
line
you've
up. It should be
interrupted
the
court
Fatui
proceedings.
Harbingers.
I only tolerated your behavior last time because you were able to provide the court with a key eyewitness. But that was an exception rather than standard court protocol. I can very well charge you with contempt of court for your interjections.
Oh, please. Did you ever think I had any respect for this place's pointless theatrics?
True.
We can put that discussion aside for now. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to charge the true culprit behind the serial disappearances case. And if my charges prove true,
we gotta address though that there's definitely more than one person involved in the serial disappearances case.
Oh, a young lady has charged in and offered to clear my name. How fascinating. Well, I'd gotten half bored to death by all these rules and procedures anyway, so I'll take you up on that offer. So, Your Honor, is there nothing else for me to do now?
No, you sit there and you wait.
In the audience, but that doesn't mean the suspicions against you have been lifted.
I wouldn't say you could just let him go into the audience. I mean,
Now then,
like,
Miss Navia,
he's still a suspect, right?
Who is the person you would like to charge instead?
that person is...
No. Okay. We can select any of these? Combining the information regarding the Gardamix. Okay. This person's none other than Marcel. Sure.
Marcel,
I mean, that's the conclusion we can.
the head of Confrérie of Cabriere.
Huh? What confrérie? Never heard of that in my life.
Well, that...
I've heard of them, but weren't they Spina di Rosula's sister organization?
Oh, is this going to be a friends to enemies type situation?
Please let me
does
remind
appear.
you, Miss Navia, that charging someone is an incredibly serious matter. Committing to the charge also means taking on the legal responsibilities associated with it. And if the charge fails, depending on the circumstances, you may also be charged with the crime of making a false accusation. Knowing this, do you wish wish to charge this man?
No, I'm scared.
I do.
In that case, I declare the charge to be valid. Miss Navia and attorneys, please take
Yeah,
your places on the
attorneys.
court.
Where is Child's attorney? You can actually make him stand up there and represent himself.
Please contact Mr. Marcel right away so that he may stand trial.
After some time, a shocked and confused Marcel is brought to the stands. Oh, you really are innocent. You better
Mr.
prove
Marcel,
it.
You will not require an attorney. Is that correct?
He absolutely requires an attorney, but sure.
Apologies. It all just happened so quickly. I still haven't
Well, then
figured
that's
out
more
what's going
reason you
on.
should give him
I
legal
think an
advice.
attorney won't be necessary. This is probably just a misunderstanding between me and Navia.
I
Very
don't
well.
think so.
In that case, since both sides have now arrived,
And the court in
Miss
this
Navia,
game is
present your
in
charges.
Fontaine is weird. That's
I
all.
would
That's
like
all
to
I
take
know
everyone
at this
back
point.
to 3 years ago, to the case of Callus the Unfaithful. Only through elucidating what really happened in that case can we connect all the dots for the serial disappearances case.
Navia, do you really think that I was the one who killed your father? Come on.
I don't think
Why
he
would I
did
do
it, but he
that?
probably knows who
Callus
did.
was my benefactor, and remember, both you and I only ran to the scene when we heard the sound of a gun. If that's enough
gun.
to make me a suspect, wouldn't that make everyone at that banquet a suspect as well?
I think there's no point in getting into the specifics right now. The audience doesn't even have the big
Do we have to
picture
let
yet.
her comment every time? I know she's like the
Certainly
leader
need to
and
remember
everything, but
some
like,
details of that case. Exactly correct, Your Honor. I must refresh everyone's memory about that case before I can explain my charge and reasoning.
I see. In which case, I will recount the findings about that case as originally recorded by Maison Gardiennage.
okay. Nuvula to Navia.
On the
Alright.
day of the murder, Spina di Rosula hosted a large banquet in a countryside estate owned by the Confrérie of Cabriere.
Okay. Seems about right.
During the banquet, all attending guests heard 2 gunshots from the courtyard.
Except for Marcel, who did not.
When the guests arrived at the scene, they found the primary suspect, Callus, holding a gun, while his acquaintance, Jacques, lay dead from a gunshot wound.
Now, if that's the case, why is there a tree branch over him? But okay.
The guards' investigation did not recover any other firearms from the scene. As a result, they concluded that the suspect's first shot must have missed, while the second must have taken Jacques' life.
It could have been a struggle with the gun, with like people grabbing it and one shot went off and the other one hit him.
The suspect did not dispute this conclusion, and also declined to defend himself in court. Instead, he chose to prove his innocence through a duel.
Just most interesting.
Callus was defeated by champion duelist Clarand in the ensuing duel, and soon succumbed to the injuries.
Alright.
These are the known facts about the case.
Okay. How do we refute this? What do we have to refute this?
The one with the motive to kill was Jacques, not my father. And even so, Jacques still had no reason to pull the trigger.
It could have been like a struggle.
In truth, the third person shot Jacques first, and was shot in turn by my father when my father seized the gun from him. After that, the true culprit turned the third person into water, erasing all traces of him from the scene. Thank you for the summary, Your Honor. Of course, the guard's conclusion appeared quite sensible to us at the time.
But who had the water? Would it have been Callus?
We should revisit the case now that we've gained new information about the abilities of water from the primordial sea.
Okay, Navia's turn. Refuting it. Okay, Spina Dusula hold it up. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. During the banquet, all attendees heard 2 gunshots. According to the investigation, Callus, who had a motive to kill, murdered Jacques for his betrayal. But is that true? Callus did not carry a gun with him. Okay, we'll put that in later. Not that yet. Did Callus act in self-defense, or is there more to the incident?
The testimony of the victim's family confirms that Jacques had thoughts of assassinating Callus when he set out for the banquet. However, in the end, he reconsidered, and instead shared everything with Callus, hoping to seek the latter's protection.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt her. Ended up dead anyway. When the guests arrived at the scene, they found the primary suspect Callus holding a gun. But we know he wasn't carrying a gun with him.
Something's not right.
Okay. Based on the investigations done there was no possibility that anyone else could have done the deed and escaped, and Callus was thus judged to have been the culprit. It is now certain that Callus did not bring a gun with him. Moreover, the details of the case point to the possible existence of a third person on the scene. Clothing.
This assassin first shot Jacques, then turned to shoot Callus, only for Callus to wrestle the gun from him and kill him instead.
And then maybe that person had the assassin had the primordial water planted on them to dissolve them for messing up and getting themselves killed. This still doesn't incriminate Marcel. The problem is this case that we're dealing... I feel like we're trying to hit too many birds with one stone here. Because we're trying to get, figure out who committed the murder here with Callus. Or who murdered Jacques, and was it Callus or not. We're trying to figure out who's selling the synth, which we believe to be Marcel. And we're trying to see if this is linked to the missing women case with the girls that were dissolved. And all we know is that we believe that the drug-making company had something to do with the primordial water, and thus they'd be linked. But that's a lot of things we're trying to link at one time in one singular case with this one accusation. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. The guards' investigation did not recover any of the firearms from the scene. As a result, they concluded that the suspect's first shot must have missed, while the second must have taken Jacques' life. This deduction is based on the circumstances where there is no third person on the scene. It turns out that there was a method that can cleverly cover up the killer's tracks. Dissolving.
A pile of clothing was found at the scene. The guards once believed they were used by Jacques as a costume to disguise himself. But now, it is clear that the clothes were proof that there was a third person at the scene. And that they were turned into water after committing the murder.
Although who would have done it?
Since it was raining that day, the culprit was confident that they could use the rain to wash away all traces of their dissolved accomplice.
There you go.
Realizing this, the true culprit caused the hired assassin to dissolve into water, leading everyone to believe Callus was responsible for Jacques'
hired
murder.
a hit person and
the true version
then
of
killed
events.
them to hide any evidence that there was any hitman. All right. Well, the scales seem to be leaning in our favor here. This case has more evidence than the previous one. We're sure that nobody's going to believe us that Linny went into another tunnel to go research something completely different. This has a little bit more weight to it.
So that's what happened. Wait,
well,
you're telling me
don't jump to
as
conclusion.
dangerous as water from the primordial sea has been used for all these years?
That does appear to be what it is.
It also explains Callus's and Jacques' respective motives. I guess they didn't shoot each other after all.
He's gonna ask how is he involved
Mr.
in this.
Marcel, you are the one being charged with the crime. You should provide a rebuttal if you wish to
I
prove
would.
your
His
innocence.
rebuttal would be, we have not
But I think
involved
I
him
agree
in
with
the
everything
testimony
Navi
yet.
just said. In fact, there was nothing in her speech that directly implicated me.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. We didn't really involve him.
May I ask some questions? In
No.
my opinion, we
But
primarily
go
need
ahead,
to
sure.
determine two things. One, do you have the evidence to back up your claims?
I'm afraid not. At least not at this very moment.
Boo! If you don't
Shush.
I may not have the evidence with me, but I know where
Why
I
do
can
we
go to
have?
collect
This
it.
is a problem.
If we
It's
look
so
up the deserted
annoying.
clues
Everyone's
against
just
the
like
record of
cheering and
people who went
booing like this
missing
is a
around the same
show, and
time,
in reality,
we
people's
should be
lives
able
are
to
on the
find a
line here.
match. Considering the serial disappearances case, the guards probably kept careful records of all missing persons from around that time, regardless of age or gender.
That makes sense to me. Monsieur Neuvillette, I would consider this to be a reasonable investigative direction.
Okay.
Why do I feel like Farina's acting a little differently today?
Yeah, she's not as obnoxious. I mean, she still is, but she's toned it down. She's either really invested in this case, actually, and she's not the prosecutor, so it's a little bit different. Or do you know something about this?
Maybe she's scared of embarrassing herself again?
That too.
Alternatively, she's become more diligent after charging an innocent citizen in the last trial.
My second question has to do with the ensuing duel. If the truth is indeed as you described, then why didn't Mr. Callus explain himself in court?
Yeah, that is still a good
Testified
question,
that a
but
person had been dissolved. He could have at least mounted a defense.
I mean, that's
thought
true.
about this too.
But,
And the
you know,
answer
you're
is
not
actually
actually
simple.
charging anyone in this
there were
case,
things that were more
Farina,
important
so
to
I
him.
don't know exactly. I guess she gets to
Of water from the
meddle in
primordial
cases as
sea
much as she wants
is an
because she's the
important
Archon.
secret for
Whatever.
the true culprit of the serial disappearances case. My father could have exposed it for all to see, but he chose to take it to the grave. At that time, Spina di Rosula was in dire straits, and his reputation had already been shattered. He had no guarantee that going forward with the truth would allow the culprit to be brought to justice. What was certain, however, was that it would paint a gigantic target on my back.
Boss once told me that Demoiselle had already been selected as the next target of the serial disappearances case.
What?
If the secret had gotten out, the culprit would have fought an all-out war with Espina right there and then. I wouldn't have been the only one in danger. All of us would have stood to lose our lives. Of course, the guards might eventually figure out the truth of the matter and determine that we were in the right.
Once everyone's already dead.
What good would that do? How can a hollow verdict protect anyone? Had this opera house ever given my father any kind of confidence in its brand of justice, Spina di Rosula would have had no reason to exist. But by staying silent, we retained the ability to deter our opponents and continue the stalemate. I was able to become Spina di Rosula's president, which made me harder to target, as well as giving me more time to grow and learn. And once I have figured out the truth and stepped up to the challenge, I will do what this opera house cannot, and restore my father's truth and honor back to him.
So, you mean to say, your father intended to die in the duelist's ring?
That is what it
That's
appears to
right.
be.
Do you have any proof?
Of course.
The things that he said before, right?
All you need is
Yeah.
to ask his opponent, Clarand. I don't need your apology, your guilt, or your support from the shadows. You don't have to do anything for my sake. But since he entrusted his will to you, Clarand, you should tell us the truth about his sacrifice.
So, during the duel, did you believe that Callus was intending to die?
Yes, I did. As a champion duelist, I've fought many battles and taken a countless number of dishonored lives. In my line of work, I've seen all kinds of people give their all for the faintest hope to continue living. Some were determined, others passionate, and some even manic and twisted.
Mhm.
Just one look and I can tell if a duelist is hoping to live or if they're looking to die. I hereby swear on my name and honor as a champion duelist that Mr. Callus never intended to leave the ring alive.
Since that's your testimony, I have no more questions. It appears there really are good grounds to reopen this case.
Wow, she's pretty
I concur.
reasonable at this time.
However, Miss Navia, you still have not explained the link between your father's case and the serial disappearance
Yeah,
case.
same. I
Right?
think she needs to say
What
that.
she said was fascinating, but kind of beside the point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like we're trying to
Weren't they just talking about the serial disappearances case?
we're trying to kill too many birds with one stone here.
Connected via a matter of timing.
Okay, the Oratrice seems to be thinking a lot. I can hear it.
Kill both Jacques and Callus. As a result, they planned to act after hearing 2 gunshots. And at the end of Linny's trial, the culprit also only dissolved the victim in front of everyone because they realized they were at risk of being identified.
Which then proved that water dissolving is
Only
real.
timed their actions so precisely if they were already at the scene. Coincidentally, Marcel attended both the banquet and the trial.
Oh, true.
So that's why you suspected me. Even after hearing your reasoning, I still can't help but find it a little preposterous. I'm used to
Interesting.
it, though. You've always been an impulsive and sentimental child, Navia. It's one of your most endearing traits.
Oh, don't say that now. You're gonna get thrown in jail.
No
if-
need to appeal to pathos.
Yeah.
I won't
What
try to
about the
refute your points
Gardamex
one
that
by one,
attacked
but even if
us?
everything you just said was true, can you prove that I was the only person present at both events?
Hmm.
On top of that, does a person have to be physically present to control the timing? Can't someone remotely monitor the place?
True. But you guys don't have like the best like cameras and stuff like that.
Don't know what she can say to that.
Okay, but it's still on our
I
side.
know that even with that, you might still think you can reduce the list of suspects with some further investigations until I'm the only one left on the list.
Okay.
Alas, who won't feel at least a little hurt by an accusation of murder from a girl you see as your
Oh,
own
don't
daughter?
try to sweet talk
And
us
if I were
now,
to dismiss
mister.
this
We're in a
completely,
court.
You'd also think I'm not being considerate of your feelings. Ah well, let Uncle Marcel teach you another lesson. Do you know what the biggest flaw in your reasoning is?
Well,
I suppose you're gonna tell me anyways.
biggest flaw. Just tell us.
Timing again. I'm a businessman by trade. From that standpoint, there's no reason for me to kidnap young women. It's a high-risk
Yeah,
action
that's
with
what I'm
nothing
wondering
to
is
gain.
like, there's no motive to the dissolving of young women. We don't know. Like, are they like collecting the water for the dissolved water for something? Like, is there? What's the point of this? Turning like women into like basically like oceanid consciousnesses. What's the motive there? Which is once again, that's what was really hard with Linny's case too. Is like, what's the point? Like, why? Like, we're missing the motive for why somebody would do this, and that's making it really hard to point fingers at anyone.
In addition, I left my home in Snezhnaya when I was young
Cool,
to come to
Snezhnaya,
Poisson
that's
and work in
another
some trade.
important
My
point.
business only thrived when I received Callus's patronage. But the disappearances began before I ever
That's
set
what I mean.
foot
There's
into
more
the
than
table.
one person to accuse in this case.
I do apologize, demoiselle. This was my mistake.
No, it's not your fault. I'm sure he had come prepared.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Would you like to check the date of my first business license against the first known case of the serial disappearances?
Well, I wouldn't say that so confidently. I mean, you could have started this before you opened a business. Just like, pouring water in people's heads is all you needed to do before you started. Well, first of all, we have to prove that he's also running the drug business. And we also don't have concrete proof that the drug business... Well, I guess we got a little bit from that from Linny's case, that the drug business is the one dissolving women. Why am I saying this so casually? Dissolving people is horrible. But we don't have... Like was said at the very beginning, there's got to be more than one person in this case. Like, we don't know how far this goes. Like, even if he is guilty, they're only scratching the surface of, like, we can't point the finger at a singular person for this whole missing women case. I think it's more than one group.
You can also take a look at my border entry records, or ask my friends and family when I left Snezhnaya
Okay,
for the
and
first
also
time.
one more thing. we know from Linny and Lynette's life story that they told us last time about how they ended up at the House of the Hearth, which was that they got exploited by like these rich people, and one of them sold off Lynette to somebody else. And when Linny managed to fight his way into there to save her, Arlecchino was there, and she had rescued Lynette and a whole bunch of other girls too. That's also a missing women's case too, is it not? And then she probably recruited them all to the House of the Hearth. And I mean, she did save them, so I mean, there's that. But that also, doesn't that also mean that there's another case of missing girls? And it could be more than one case. But it does seem highly coincidental if it's the same type of victims in both.
Could those records and testimonies do something to appease the unspeakable anguish in your heart?
Seems like she got the wrong guy.
Oh, well, these guys don't, in the audience, don't think that much.
I think you've done a superb job of dissecting your father's feelings as he neared the end of his life. But aren't you going against all of his wishes and expectations right now? He wished for you to become more rational, collected, and conscientious, instead of dwelling only on your own feelings. Once you've learned to be more considerate of others' feelings, and to stop rushing headlong into things.
No, don't let him get into your head. He's trying to, like, emotionally disturb you. That's not... Don't let him. Don't let him.
This isn't just about me, and it never has been.
Yeah, that's right.
The biggest difference between me and the rest of the victims is that I still have the ability to search for the truth, while that same agency has long been taken.
Yeah, that's right. We have to fight for them, for people who can never fight back.
The people who lost their loved ones to the serial disappearances, and the people who suffered tragic ends due to their sense of justice. Many people's images are flashing before my eyes. I'm sure some are coming to those of you in the audience as well. And whose image do you see, Marcel? Is it a man named Vacher?
Vacher!
Oh, so you do know that name.
I'm merely surprised you'd suddenly say the name of someone I've never even heard of.
That's not what your reaction just said.
Waiting for you to say that.